Hi, everybody. I'm Lydia. I'm on the marketing team here at Flatiron School, and I want to welcome you to the Meet the Mentor series. In this series, we're interviewing some really amazing mentors who are often facilitators of our courses here at Flatiron School, and we're getting to know them and hearing their stories. Our guest today is Wesley Lee. Wesley is a cybersecurity facilitator at Flatiron, so welcome, Wesley.
How you doing? Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. Can you start by telling us a little bit about yourself and what you're working on these days?
Sure, not a problem. So, as you mentioned, my name is Wesley Lee. Um, I've been doing cybersecurity for about 14, 15 years. Wow, when I think about it, it's just it's just time is fly. But yeah, no, a little bit about me. I'm a facilitator here at Flatiron. I mentor a lot of these cybersecurity courses. I've been doing it for about 15 years. I come from a vast amount of experience. A lot of it's in the government space. I'm actually from the Washington D.C. area, so if you ever live in that area, it's one or two employees you work for. You either work for the government or you do work for the government as like a contractor. So, how I got my start. Long story short, pretty much how I got my start. I graduated from school with a mass communications degree, and I worked in television for a little bit, news broadcasting to be specific. I did news broadcasting. They told me I had a lazy tongue. I didn't know what that was, but in broadcasting, it was like, oh, you have a lazy tongue. You could work on it. But I figured out that wasn't for me at this point. Wasn't going to be on CNN at that time in my life. But what happened was I figured out that wasn't the career for me. But what happened was, um, it's a cliche. It's a cliche story. I was sitting on the couch. A commercial came on and said, "Hey, cybersecurity is big. This is big in the fields. The next generation of things." And they had all the like the marketing and things that went with it. And so I needed a job. What better way to get a job to find a niche that there was need in, and I'm on the same playing field with everybody else. So I actually called. It was a school. It was another school that I went to where I went to get my master's from, University of Maryland, University College. They were pretty much marketing, and I got my master's in cybersecurity, and pretty much my career started from there. I got a couple certifications as well, and my career shot off from there. Pretty much, I started with the Department of Defense, worked with all the military installations such as Navy, Army, Marine Corps, Coast Guard. I know I'm missing somebody. Um, Air Force. Air Force is what I'm missing. But I started there doing a lot of security operations there. I moved to incident response. I moved to digital forensics. I moved to doing penetration testing. I moved to doing assessment and auditing. I moved to doing governance, risk, and compliance. I've did it all in more than military space. I never was in the military. That wasn't my thing, but I got the skills and kind of networking and moved on in that field. Essentially, what I did, I moved from the DC area to Atlanta, Georgia. Life brought me down here, and so I'm currently in the Atlanta, Georgia area. A lot of what I do now, I'm sorry, going back a little bit. I'm sorry, let me go back a little bit.
You
But
did.
transition out from the government space, I moved more to the private sector space, actually doing OT and ICS security. What OT and ICS security is pretty much, I call it the things that's not IT. We look at things like Walmart, Amazon, and things. They have all these, websites, DNS, and everything between. OT security is a lot of the under-reserved, like IT infrastructure that we take for granted, but we use every day. So think of things like public transportation, water, electricity, um, telecommunications, our cell phone working, um, biomedical, getting food manufacturing farms, and these really do rely on a lot of the IT systems that we use and utilize every day in our world. So I work a lot more in OT and ICS. That's what I mean. It's just really everything outside of more to the traditional IT. Oil and gas is one of the things I work in as well. But yes, that's what I do. I've done it for consulting companies. I've done it for just big corporations as well. But right now, what I do OT and ICS security for Accenture. Um, what I do is pretty much help people protect their critical infrastructure, make sure we have clean water, safe food, safe public railways, the street lights are working. I know traffic still happens, but that's one of the things I do, along with some other infrastructure and IT things. But that's a little bit about me.
Yeah, so can you tell us a little bit more about your role in your at your current company and what you do kind of day to day there?
Sure, no, yeah, a lot of OT and IC security. It's more a lot of assessments, and we're defending things. So in OT and ICS, we're that industry is really behind the eight ball when it comes to technology. We have like Microsoft is out with the latest and greatest of like operating systems. So I think Windows 11 is the latest operating system out right now. But a lot of our OT and ICS operating system runs on like Windows 3.1, like really really old technology and operating system. Excuse me, operating systems and technology. So think of it like this. We when you buy a house or you buy a big unit, that's something like a heated HVAC, heating and ventilation system. You don't kind of buy it to replace it every 3 to 5 years, and computers really have a short lifespan for like 3 to 5 years. You buy that for like maybe 20, 25 years, maybe probably 30 now, depending on what you're getting. So we really are trying to defend things that are over 30, 40, 50, 60, sometimes 80 years old, putting in new technologies and trying to defend certain landscapes. So a lot of things what we do, we go in there, we assess. Pretty much we go in to try to understand the business. What did you do? How do you actually make money? And how to protect you from how do we protect you from modern adversaries and what they're doing now? After assessments, we go in and say, hey, these are the defense things we need to put in place. I call it cyber hygiene. Cyber hygiene is just the basic things you need to do to just be defendable. Things like having correct firewalls, patching where you can, segmenting things off from that standpoint. OT and ICS is almost like a different industry in the sense where it uses a different context. One of the things that it covers is the Purdue model. The Purdue model is just really a reference architect of how OT and ICS should be set, not really should be segmented, but more so how we reference like, oh, things at this layer versus this layer versus this layer. It's just one of those things. In networking, we may hear things like OSI model, the Open System Interconnect model, and how we talk about networking from layer physical to an application layer. But then again, we also talk about the TCP/IP layer, which is pretty much the same thing, but one is more reference in how we talk. The other one is more so how we work. So we use the Purdue model to more so talk about it, but it works a little bit differently in every different environment. We go in and doing instant response, actually implementing systems, solution implementation. So people want to, hey, so people want to put in like vulnerability management. We'll take the nesses and make it work for that organization. We do things such as configuration hardening and configuration hardening. Um, so, I'm sorry, configuration hardening. So configuration hardening is something such as just going in and hardening the machines, like taking things up, like, hey, this is this is something that use clear text, like, and maybe that's something that we're okay with, or we want this to be encrypted traffic. Now, in OT and ICS, there are little caveats here, and I'm talking about encrypted traffic, but encrypted traffic may not be as important to some places out there as they are to others. When we think about maybe banks and everything, encrypted traffic is very important. But we're thinking about electricity. We're not really thinking about encryption because it has a little bit of overhead. So we have to have discussions about things like that, because do we want electricity to get from here to here as fast as possible? Or do we want electricity to get here to here in an encrypted fashion? And we sometimes say, hey, encryption is not an important thing here, and so we have to balance those needs. We have to balance those needs based on what the company does and what the organization does. But that's pretty much most of what it is, and we pretty much wash, rinse, repeat. That's it.
Well, so is there anything I thought it's super interesting. I had not thought about the fact that you're trying to protect really old or outdated like systems or products against new threats. So that's really interesting. Is there anything like in the last several years or last few years with AI that has made that more interesting? Anything that has changed in the way you approach things because of AI?
So the answer is yes and no. So, somebody who's been in technology for a while, and AI is not really to a place, personally speaking, AI is not really to a place where people fear that it is. We have a lot of marketing and hype about like AI does this, AI does that. This is not the iRobot phase of in our lifetime. I don't particularly think we're at that phase. Like AI has come a long way from when it was studied, which was back in the 80s. AI has been studied way back in the 80s by IBM. That's one of the things that we can look up. But AI has shaped the way we're pretty much understanding or deciphering information. AI is really good at looking at a lot of information, making determination. And so, yes, it has shaped the way how we look at things. So we have spreadsheets and spreadsheets. We have mountains of data that we're looking at day in and day out versus what we looked at about not even just 5 years ago, but 10 years ago or 20 years ago. We just have mountains of data that we have. AI has really just shaped in how we process and read that data. Hey, we have this data. Tell me the interesting things I need to know, especially in OT and ICS. Now, I will say this: um, OT and ICS is very slow to move with technology. And when I say that, we're just now getting people to kind of really convert over to cloud because it's not really a reliable thing. As we noticed, like there's been some outages like recently. I think Amazon went down, I think 2 days ago, and Microsoft just went down yesterday with a lot of their stuff. So there's a lot of hesitation where it's like we still have to get clean water or get electricity from one place to another because like I said, electricity makes a bad day for everybody. It's not, yeah, everybody has a bad day. And so OT and IC is very slow to adopt a lot of technology for good reason. And AI is going to be one of those things that we probably won't see AI. We'll see AI used in some places on some cutting edge, but it's going to be very few places. It has changed in how we read data and how we look at things. But in OT and ICS, there's still a traditional thing like, hey, no, we're going to do it this way because it works, and we're more so making it work versus like using the latest and greatest. The reliability, the safety reliability is the two foremost things that you want to do when working at OT and ICS. Not really the latest and greatest and everything. Make sure is working.
So it sounds like AI is not coming after our electricity yet.
AI is not coming after your electricity yet. It may come after your electricity bill to kind of say what you use, what you didn't use, and everything like that. From a business perspective, so if you look at your company, that they're using AI to kind of say, hey, this how much you use, this how much you didn't use, and they can look at these data readings. So what used to happen, and it still happens to this day, you have people to go out and read your meters to say, oh, okay, cool, your meter has this, your meter has that, and it was math that's done between. AI is definitely great at doing that. But as far as just taking over the whole section of like, hey, how we moving electricity from this place to this place, or how we getting I won't say tainted water, but like we're making clean water from here to here. No, that's not the thing. We still rely on manual processes, manual technology, older technology because it still works. So AI is great in certain places, but it's not there to replace any human yet. They can replace certain tasks, that's repeatable tasks. But as far as just replacing humans outright, I personally don't believe that we're there yet. Maybe we'll get there at one point. It has made leaps and bounds for where it's going and what we can do and the things it has done. But no, I don't think it's coming for especially OT and ICS yet.
Are there any ways that you're using AI personally for your role that are not like maybe as directly connected to the work that you're doing, but just like for organizing your work or helping problem solve? Do you use it in any capacity?
Absolutely. One thing I definitely teach in all the mentor classes is that AI is really good at helping you find and narrow pinpoint information. The one thing you're going to realize when working in pretty much any tech, especially cybersecurity, you're not going to know everything. You're going to see things that's very uncommon, very not normal to you. You're going to learn how things work from a very grand scale, but then when you get down to the micro scale of things, you're really going to see why I have no clue what this is. I have no clue what this process is. This looks weird. Why is this working this way? And AI really can help pinpoint that thing. So I use AI personally, and more so when I see something that's not really familiar. Let's say a file path directory. I've used a file path directory and say, hey, C programs 32, C uses program 32, whatever the file path is, to say, hey, what is this application? What is this? And like just having that information, it can go research the internet, say, hey, listen, it's this application, this where it usually falls in, this where it belongs. And it helps me understand, okay, cool, I know what I'm looking at now. I know what application I'm looking at. Now I can go see actually how this works and really just using it to build upon that knowledge. So it really does help find that information because you're not going to know everything. And this is what anybody, whether you're in traditional IT, OT and ICS, web, or any type of tech, you're not going to know everything. definitely leverage AI to pretty much understand things. It'll tell you how to do a lot of the basic and simple stuff. Um, I'm a fan of it as far as just using it in your everyday learning and your everyday even usage for the most part, even learning as your usage. I know some people when they come into class, this is their first time using Linux. Linux is just a different operating system in a sense. It's not Windows where it's very user friendly, but sometimes they're using a terminal where I don't know what this command means, or I don't know what this error means. Okay, cool. Take that error, put it in ChatGPT or Copilot, and let it explain what it is. Great at definitely learning. Hey, this is what this means. This is how you can fix it. This is how you can go about it. So definitely using it for troubleshooting and really gathering information and pinpointing information beforehand, when we actually just had to go to Google and it sounds so Stone Age when you say it, but it's still the way I sometimes the way I do it. We had to actually put things in Google and actually go read the websites to find the information we needed. And didn't really tell you. We had to look at the top 3 websites, and maybe we had to go to page 3 or 4. Sounds so Stone Age now, but no, this is how we're doing things. So that's absolutely how I use it, how I use AI in my everyday career.
Are there any skills that you think are crucial to your job or crucial to cybersecurity right now?
Um, Crucial skills. I think the biggest crucial skill is really understanding the underlying technology. The one thing I definitely say, and it doesn't matter with any tool or anything that you're working with, understanding how it works in the sense of just any tool technology really does help you understand the any tool better. I do this a lot with Sims, Seam Sims. How is I know it's a religious debate behind this, but security information event management, but pretty much is where people just put all their logs in their systems and computer logs into, and it spits out results. You can filter and spit out results. Now, essentially, all a sim does is really aggregates information, takes pretty much information from everywhere, and it comes in very, very dirty. When I say dirty, it's sometimes it's just one long string. Sometimes it comes in like JSON where it's actually very structured. Sometimes it's come in as just XML. You get these things, and your sim comes in, and it normalizes it. It says, okay, cool. This is a time field. Okay, we're going to put this in a time field. This is kind of the message. Okay, cool. We're going to put this in a message. It's taking that from all these different types of log and just normalizing it. After that, you're more so like, excuse me, you're filtering it. Once you get it in and then normalize it, you're filtering it. Okay, great. Tell me what happened between this time to this time, and maybe this event code or this computer name or this website, this domain. You're filtering it, and after that, you're really just visualizing it. It doesn't matter what sim you use. You can pick the best ones, which is Splunk, QRadar, is Elastic, or anything, and even the worst ones that you don't know, maybe like Wazoo or Logarithm or whatever, they all work the same. Understanding how that works is pretty much the key cornerstone on all this. What makes them different are very minute differences behind it. I say it like this: it's like understanding um, high definition TVs. You have all these different versions: QLED, OLED, whatever LED, this, that, and the third. They all give you a great picture. Some are better at gaming. Some, they very minute differences. The biggest difference in all of these are pretty much the remote. It's not really how you turn it on, how you power it on. You still plug it up and power on, but the power button may be at the bottom, maybe at the top left, maybe at the top right. The volume may be on the side of the control versus at the bottom. So the key crucial skill is pretty much just trying to understand the technology to the underlying degree. Now, you don't have to understand every line of code, every software, or every line of code or everything that the software does, but understanding how the technology works will definitely take you really far in your career. I think the other thing that you want to do, as far as crucial skills, just be able to be ready to learn, be ready to research. One biggest thing I'd say, and I mentioned this before, is that you're going to run into things that you have no clue about what they are. Um, Being able to research and find things, because I still do this to the day. I've run into things even at the same company. I've run into things that I never seen before. The engineer who worked on the development moved on, or they moved on to life one way or another. And hey, the person who wrote this document is no longer here, and we have no way to to understand what this is. Being able to research and have those research skills, and being able to really um, take those things and learn. Okay, great. Based on what I'm seeing, we could kind of infer this is what the developer was doing, or this is what the person who designed this was able to do. Having those research skills really does go a long way to being very, very successful in this field. Because, like I said, you're going to see things. Computers do a lot of interesting things. Some is very weird. It's like I have no explanation for it. It's just did it this way, and sometimes it's just the way your computer works. Versus like, hey, it works exactly how it's supposed to work, but it's bad. It's exactly how you read it's supposed to work, but this is bad in how it works. So being able to understand the fundamental technology of how it works and really being able to just research it, because that's pretty much what security is. Security is pretty much understanding what normal is and what's abnormal. Once you understand what normal is, as far as like certain aspects, like, oh, this is how DNS works, this is how ports work, so this is how I get to the internet. Once you understand how it works normally, and like most computers will work, abnormal becomes very obvious and you'll see it. And that's pretty much the biggest thing what we're doing in cybersecurity. We're understanding what normal is. So when abnormal happens, like, oh, yes, that's not how it's supposed to work. Let me understand why. And this is where those understanding those underlying computer, how technology works, and how being able to research really comes into play to become a great security analyst, engineer, CISO, anything in between.
Yeah. Thanks. That's helpful to hear like some specific details and how it relates to cybersecurity. You shared a little bit with us about your career journey. I was wondering if you could share a little bit more about what inspired you to pursue a career in tech. I know you saw the commercial. Was there anything else that drew you to cybersecurity in particular versus another tech path?
I think at the time, we go through different phases of our life. And I'm trying not to make this a long-winded answer, but we go through different phases in our lives right now. Younger me, I needed money. That was the biggest thing. I needed money. I'm not going to sit here and lie and say it wasn't a thing. And at some point when we graduate school, obviously we want to make money to sustain ourselves, live a life that we want, and that was the biggest motivation at that point. So, um, the whole goal when I graduated was like, hey, let me get a job. Let me make some money right now. And it's okay. I think that's okay. I tell people like, hey, wherever you're at in that point, especially in your younger years, and money is, if money is the thing you lack, then fine, do it. At some point, I started to really look at what am I doing, what I actually want to do, and it was actually in my second job. I'm sorry, third job. And when somebody actually asked me, I had a female, sorry, not important. I'm sorry. I had a boss who asked me exactly like, what do you want to do? And I didn't have an answer. I did not have an answer. I knew how to do stuff, but I didn't have an answer. Um, and so I went back and thought about it. One of the things I did in school, I did travel abroad. I like traveling abroad. I travel abroad because I like learning culture, I like learning things, especially things that's different from me. It helped me expand my mind and expand my horizons, like a lot of things, a lot of understanding. Um, so one of the things that I did like doing, I like traveling. I like international affairs. I like kind of I won't say the conflict that goes with it, but it's interesting to me for whatever reason, whatever weird reason. It was one of those things I looked at. BBC, CNN International News, France 24, whatever, picked up. I looked at it, even if I didn't understand what was going on, I liked it because it was interesting to me. So essentially what I came back down to the route of saying, hey, um, okay, I want to do international affairs. Okay, I don't think I have enough money to go to like American University or Georgetown. I was still living in DC at the time. Those schools are very expensive. But what's the best way to get there? Okay, let me find a global problem. And so a global problem was cybersecurity. Okay, cool. Listen, I'm doing this. I have a route in. I'm doing a little bit of this and doing it. So it's still finding a global problem and really working on that to get more to international affairs. That's pretty much my goal. That's still always been my goal. It just seems that life takes you certain ways and everything between. I do like what I do. I like especially the OT and ICS. I will say this: at some point in my career, I got bored with the traditional side of it. Why? Because it's a lot of it is very mature in a sense. Like there's a lot of things to tell you what to do, like the Center for Internet Security Controls, the Center for Internet Security Top 18. Excuse me, the critical security controls. You have You have security hardening guides. You have there's a lot of resources out there that really tells you how to do great cybersecurity. The NIST document standards, the ISO 27 standards. There's really a lot of documentation. So essentially, at one point, I was repeating myself on a lot of things and referencing these things, and it became very repeatable. I will say OT and ICS made the complete shift in how what I really liked about this. Um, the thing with OTICS, everything is different. Everything is different. How you look at it, what are you doing? How do you secure it? And it's one of these things where you really do have to be creative in defending a lot of these things. Like I call it the left Twix, right Twix. I don't know if you ever seen that commercial, but you have right Twix makes it one way, the left Twix makes it another way. And essentially that's exactly how OT and ICS is. You can be in the same organization, the same building, but if you go next door, they do something completely different because that's how it works there. You have to get creative in OT and ICS because you actually are dealing with life, death, and livelihood with a lot of things.
Mm.
In traditional in traditional IT, an email don't come in within a minute. Okay, let me go get a coffee and things like that. Um, uh, uh, you don't get a packet from one end to another that really causes this generator to explode. Like I said, it's a bad day for everybody. Like there's livelihood, it really impacted here. So you really do. I found that being really creative in OT and ICS really re-sparked that passion and just being in that security field. It's different. What does that mean? Different. Different can mean sometimes to say, hey, and this has happened before, multiple times. Is that we're looking at something and say, hey, this is we're responding to an incident and say, hey, there's malware on here. Okay, great. All right, it's malware. Hey, we should clean it up. Like, no. What do you mean we don't clean? No. Is it reaching out? Is it doing anything malicious? Like, no, it's dormant. I mean, it can't reach out to anything because it doesn't connect to anything. All right, cool. Listen, this is a $50 million operation. We'll clean it up next time. And then you have to live with that. You have to live like, okay, so we're just going to keep malware on here? Yes. That's the thing. We're not hurting nobody. It's not killing nobody. It's not reaching out to anything. We isolated it. That's what it is. We'll live with it until we get to that next maintenance cycle. And that's the thing you have to live with, being creative. I'm looking at this the first time around. I'm saying, hey, this is bad. I don't like this. I don't like this. It shouldn't be like this. But when you get into it and you understand, like, no, you have to realize we can take this down, but we're losing $50 million a minute. And yeah, are you going to explain to the CEO that we're losing $50 million a minute because you want to get this off, and it takes an hour to get off? Yeah, you now become down to this risk versus reward. So looking at it a little bit differently and being creative in how things work, because things, they do have impact to people's lives, society, in the places we live in, the places we go to, places we work, the things that we use every day. Hey, this actually impacts the drinking water of my children, my kids, my mom, my grandma, your pets. This, it impacts all that, and it's another way of thinking about it.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you. It sounds like, correct me if I'm wrong, it sounds like you like the problem solving and creativity of that. And you also kind of like
Absolutely.
that it's high stakes and
Absolutely.
you like helping people as well. It's kind of a perfect package there.
It is. It's just you realize that you utilize the same thing that's in your community, and so you have a vested interest. Like, no, I drink the same water, I eat the same food, I use the same electricity, I use the same phone lines, and like, no, it helps you. It's not just helping the organization. It's the same stuff that your family, your loved one does well. Whether, like I said, it's a pet, it's a family member, it's anything. It's the same stuff you use. So you have more of a vested interest, especially when it's like, no, this is in my neighborhood where I live and I pay taxes and mortgage or rent or anything like that. Like, yes, I want it to work, and I want it to work well.
Yeah, yeah, cool. Yeah, okay. So earlier you did share a little bit about your education. Can you tell us a little bit more about that pivot that you made when you moved from communication to cybersecurity, and how did that influence where you are today? Did you feel like education played a big role in that transition?
I think in my time, so I want to say maybe a little bit controversial, and please feel free to edit this. I'm sorry. It may be a little bit controversial in how I look at it now. Before, when I was growing up and raised, we was always taught, hey, you go to school, get good grades, you go to college, get a good job and everything like that. And that still is true to some degree in some fields. I think now the cybersecurity landscape has changed, and I think a lot of the people are recognizing that you don't necessarily need a college degree to kind of be in cybersecurity. So I went to go get a master's degree. I'm not going to say it didn't help me or it didn't hurt me or help me. If I did it again, I probably wouldn't have done it. I would say that just to get in cyber. One of the biggest thing is that you have places like Flatiron, you have other boot camps and places like that where it's a quarter of the calls or a tenth of the calls to get the same skills than most of the same skills that I've learned, just more so on the job. So it did help in a sense of like maybe schooling, but that was an old way of thinking. And I think that's probably one of the things that why Flatiron is successful and why a lot of these boot camps and a lot of these certification programs are very successful. I don't need to know general English 101 or 201 to really be able to kind of fix your DNS or go forward. Like, yes, I do need to communicate and speak English and know the math and everything like that. Yes, I do need general education courses or need to know how to do that. But as far as the education, I think it's changed for the most part. It's definitely shifted, and I think a lot of people have understood how much education does play a big role. Like, I don't think you need to go to a 40, 50, 60, $70,000 school to be very successful in cybersecurity. Definitely take the route that helps you get the skills that you need. I think coming to places like Flatiron and these boot camps, it's more like a trade school. It's just like how you become an engineer, heating it, excuse me, HVAC, heat and ventilation, air conditioning technician, a plumber. It's the same thing as a trade school. It's a tenth of the price. You get the skills, you gain the skills, you get the experience, and you go live a successful life with very little minimal debt versus taking out these loans at big schools. So education did play a big role because of where I came in. That was pretty much the story of how you went. Do I tell people go the same route I do? No, I definitely tell them skip the masters. You don't have to do it. Now, I will say this: somebody paying for it, you have an employer paying for it, absolutely go for it. I mean, it's all free school and free money. It's always something I encourage everybody to do. If somebody's paying for something, you to go learn something, absolutely go do it. Um, but that's pretty much kind of more so how education played a big role. I would say if I do it again, I probably wouldn't have done the master's. Now the bachelor's did help because I was able to kind of study abroad and everything. Transition to communication, transition from communication to cybersecurity. But understanding what I knew, if I just would have saw a commercial and kind of knew what I knew now, I probably would have just took that money that I spent on a master's and really just saying, hey, let me get a couple certifications, let me practice these skills, or let me come to some place such as Flatiron to get these skills, to really understand these skills, apply them, and then go apply. Will that what excuse me what it excuse me would it have made a difference in my career? Who knows? I'm not sure. If I knew the future, I'll probably be winning the lottery 4 times in a row. So that's where we're at. But that's probably I would say it did play a role. I think just understanding return on investment at this point is the biggest thing. Student loans are with you forever. There's something that I want to say I preach, but especially people I mentor, it's like, hey, if you don't have to take student loans to learn something that really doesn't require student loans, please don't do it. Spend just the how much money, the flat iron money or whatever, a tenth of the price of the money to a manageable price, learn the skills, and when you get the job, then go back and apply these things and really be as less in debt as you can be, especially with student loans.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, well, I think that's a good segue because so that was kind of a lesson you learned from just your education journey. Switching to like kind of other lessons learned throughout your career. What's one lesson from your career that has stuck with you? And then, like, was there ever a moment where you faced a major challenge or failure and had to grow from
Oh,
it?
I face failures every day of my life. I'll tell you that it is a failure every day, and I remember this one thing, and this was a tweet a while ago. I think Sony had an outage, and they had an outage for something. Something went down, and they tweeted out, "Yep, it was the intern who did it," and it was great. It was a great thing. It was a great marketing. No, but it was one of those things where this is the thing about this thing with you. This is a lesson I learned. If you don't mess it up, you don't break it, you didn't learn anything. And I know it sounds really bad. I mean, obviously, you don't want to be a test bin like electricity, but like, okay, email went down and whatever. Okay, cool, email went down. Life went on. But There was a tweet that came out from Sony. It's like, yeah, hey, yeah, the intern messed up, person's out, and like we're fixing it. And it's like the community rallied behind this person, and they told all their stories. Like, hey, I'm gonna tell you one time, I took down a whole email server, I took down a whole website, I took down a whole company. Hey, I messed up and migrated over things and deleted stuff. And everybody has these stories who work in tech. Everybody does, and it's one of those lessons that you're going to mess up, you're going to do things, and these are the biggest lessons you're going to learn. And the one things I take from that, I wish I could find it, but I knew it came up with it during my career. It was just a thing where it's like, hey, all the great people people who've done it before, they'll tell you the same stories. Like, hey, yeah, the intern did it. Like, hey, you messed up. Okay, great. We can fix it. The biggest thing is like we can fix it. We learned a lesson. We learned what we should do. We learned what not to do. That's something that's have been like a lesson and something that stuck with me through my whole career. You're going to mess up. You're going to take things down. You're going to mess up. It's okay. All right. It's part of the journey. It's part of the learning lesson. Um, you know, as I said, it's better to lose $500 than $50,000. That's all I like to say. This I'm okay losing $500, 50,000. I'm kind of, I'm gonna cry a little bit, maybe a lot. I'm gonna cry a lot. So that's probably one of the biggest things. I'll go back to that tweet that came out where, like I said, Sony went down. They said, hey, it was the intern, but we talked about it and we fixed it. And the community really did rally behind and say, hey, let me tell you my story where I took this down. And they had like full blown stories. Like, hey, I took my whole system, I took the whole ER down. Hey, they had to do everything manual. Hey, the buses had to actually write tickets, or hey, nobody could get email for 24 hours. And these are some of the things you're going to learn that's going to stick with you. Take them as war scars, battle scars, and it's in every career. Take them with you. You learn something, go through the hard stuff, and do it. So that's probably the biggest lesson that I've taken with me, is that you're going to mess up. If you haven't messed up, I don't think you've learned. I don't want to say I think you learned enough. If you haven't messed up, then you don't have the battle scars. Then go get some. Let's go find some at the point. Not purposely, but let's figure out what happened and why.
So it sounds like you have to have thick skin in cybersecurity.
It's not a thing. Yeah.
Or
Yes and no. It
resilience.
depends on where you're at. It depends on where you're at. I don't want to say thick skin. It's one of those things that I'm not going to say take risks. But I'm not going to say take risks. Obviously, there's things that really do matter. Like you said, when AWS goes down and Azure go down, where a lot of people depend on, like, yes, they do have impact, but life still goes on. The OT and I says a little bit different. Like, hey, electricity go out. Yeah, no, we can't really afford that. There's really laws and fees behind it, like $1 million fees behind things like that. But take the time to learn. Like, hey, listen, I'm thinking about doing this, that, and third. You're gonna mess up. You may put a bad command. You may do this. All right, cool. Let's figure it out. Let's see what happens. Sometimes you are the, as I say this, sometimes you're testing the incident response. So if you mess up something, like, hey, can we actually restore this? Like, hey, now we know that we needed this and we couldn't restore this, or we had a backup somewhere here and we couldn't restore this. So it's okay to kind of, I don't want to say it's thick skin. You're gonna mess up. You're gonna do things. You're gonna not understand stuff. You're gonna fat finger something. It's okay. It's all right. It's usually, most of it is always fixable. Most of it is very fixable. Hey, you may have to bring in the senior guy. Say, hey, yeah, did this before. I know how to do this. We'll bring it back up and we'll move on with life.
All right. Excuse me. Switching gears just a little bit, kind of want to talk about mentorship and how you found Flatiron School. How did you first hear about Flatiron School and what drew you to the school? And maybe this is too many questions at once, but what inspired you to become a mentor as well?
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. Mentoring what inspired me to become a mentor is more so like, when I was working for a consulting firm, I always got mentees and people who really their first job was pretty much, when I say first real job, first real job, like a 401k and FICA, what that means when it comes out to paycheck. Like, if you know, if you don't, then it's a good Google question. What is FICA and everything like that. So um doing that, a lot of people came in, they had the big dreams that I did. I'm not here to shoot them down. I'm definitely not here to shoot them down, but really just saying, okay, cool. Hey, asking that question that my boss had me at one time, what do you want to do? And a lot of them say, I don't know. And honestly, that's okay. I thought, like, that's okay. Let me kind of introduce you to some things to kind of say, hey, there's something to think about. These are some brewing things that maybe you can think about, see what you like, see what you do, go try things. A lot of people come into this field, they just learning stuff. And like, hey, I kind of don't know what I'm doing. And even like some of the people through the Flatiron class, like, hey, we're covering a lot of things, and I want to make sure that you understand, like, hey, this is career, this is a career, this is a career, this is a career. We cover a lot of things where you can really just specialize in this, and this is where you'll go, and this is kind of the job roles you get. And a lot of people don't know that because I'm honest. I'll try to be honest with people. Like, if you kind of really come to Flatiron School or things like that, you're coming for a career change. All right. Most likely, you're coming for a career. You're coming to learn a skill because you want to change career. And if you come to cybersecurity, more likely you're coming because you want to change career. You want something maybe better, more so better, or change from what your scenery is at that point. And so, um, being able to just pass on those guidance and everything. So, and I take this lesson as far as like a wise shoot, I had it and I forgot. I'm sorry. A smart person learn from their mistake. A wise person learn from other people's mistake. So be the wise person. Learn from my mistakes. Take heed, and take notice on what this is. And if you ask a question, I'm more honest. I like to. Sorry, I'm messing up. I'm messing up. Sorry. Um, learn from my mistakes. I like to share in my stories. I like to share the journey I went through, and people say, "Hey, I want to go to this university to learn about this." Like, I don't necessarily suggest that. I'm gonna tell you why, and I explain why. And I think that's a conversation that needs to be had because this is not like political or anything like that or anything controversial, but debt is a huge thing in the country. People have debt, more debt than what you should do, and student loans shouldn't be one of them if you can help it at that point. And so, hey, I want to get into cybersecurity. What's the best way to come? I mean, I'm gonna be honest. I met people who came from, they were artillery special. They were a missile specialist, and it's like, dude, what a transition from artillery to cybersecurity. How did you even come from there? Like, somebody said something, and I learned the rest. So, pretty much what helped me to be a mentor is like it's having the passion to teach, having the young people come in and say, hey, the bright eyes and big futures, and not bright eyes and big future, and say, hey, I want to do this, but I don't quite know where to go. And we all need guidance at some point. I needed guidance, and there was people that they did a thankless job where it's like, hey, they sat down and took the time and said, hey, this is what we need to know, this is what we need to do. And like I said, that one boss said, hey, what do you want to know? I didn't quite know. So I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Excuse me. What do you want to do? And I didn't quite know. And I didn't even know there was options out here. There's still jobs I didn't know. Like, oh my goodness, they pay you for that now? Like, you'll be surprised. Like, some people are very surprised. Like, yeah, no, you can get paid to really break into people's systems. Really? Yeah. Like, you can be a professional thief if you really want to. Like, and people will pay you. Didn't know that. Like, not even just in the computer side, but there's even a physical penetration testing side where it's like, yeah, no, you can actually, if you like these crime mystery things, like how people get into places, like be a almost real life spy. There are places you can do that, and like people don't know that. Like, oh no, I don't. Some people come in, hey, I don't like coding, I don't like the technical thing. Like, hey, do you know? It's this thing called GRC, governance, risk, and compliance, where everything takes place, and you just need to understand what's going on. It's these things and these avenues that people come in, they're learning a lot of things, but they don't know what's out there as far as opportunity and why they're learning it. I think the understanding of why you're learning it and understand what career you can get out of it is the biggest impact that I can give, as far as just seeing it and being somebody who's done a majority of, but not everything. I'll tell you, there's some things I haven't done, like software engineering. I can't tell you about it. Not my thing. I can't do it. But that's really pretty much what inspired me to become a mentor. Just people asking and having like, hey, here are some things. Like, don't make the same mistakes I did. I have done and probably still going to make till this as time comes along.
Yeah, that's good. Um, if you could give one piece of advice to someone just starting in tech, what would it be?
Ooh, I don't know if it's one I can give you. um, the biggest thing I'd say: embrace the journey. Embrace the journey. This is not something, and I tell this to all the mentees, and everybody I facilitate. This is not a journey that's going to say, "Hey, I got my shiny sheet of paper and I got the job. Like, give me 80K a year." No, this is not going to be one of those. Embrace the journey. The journey means that you're learning stuff, but you still have to do a little, I won't say go beyond, but learn how the technology works, learn what's going on, understand what's going on. Because when you're out here, you are competing against a lot of people who do have experience, and people who are coming through similar boot camps as well, some of your peers and teammates. But embrace the journey. Like, learn the concepts, understand the things what's going on, because that's what makes the difference in the interview. Like, understanding a simple question I give just to people when we go through the networking session, like, hey, what port does DNS use? And or what does DNS use, TCP or UDP? It's like, oh, UDP 53. It's like, okay, when does it use TCP? No clue. And it's like, don't get me wrong, and it's a got you question more so like, hey, you have to understand the journey. Like, and so to kind of answer that question for people who are looking at it, DNS TCP is used for one or two things: zone transfer, or when a packet is more than 512 megabytes or kilobytes. I'm sorry, 512 kilobytes is one of those numbers. But it's embracing the journey. That's something that it's not going to be really. We will cover DNS, but we may not cover it to that depth and really understanding how to. So embrace the journey. Take the time to learn this stuff, like understand what's going on. Maybe go a little bit beyond. I absolutely embrace people. Do YouTube University. Use AI to really, hey, how does DNS really work? Hey, can DNS work over TCP? Like, and it'll explain to things like that. And, oh, these are the situation. Embrace the journey. And go along for the journey, because you're going to appreciate the results so much more. And I'm not saying from like a pride or ego standpoint. It's one of those things where you're going to be faced with a question and you're going to know how to approach the answer. You may not know everything about it, but you will know how to approach it and to answer it. And you're going to be looked upon as the hero of the things. Like, how do you know that? It's like, just read about it. Well, I use AI in a proper way. I ask AI the proper questions to get the answer. Understanding the technology and understanding, like, hey, how to get certain answers out of AI as well. Like, doing that. So that's probably the biggest piece of advice I can give. Embrace the journey. This is not something that's going to happen overnight. There's work that has to be put in. It's with anything. We like to see the end results. Even me, like, a lot of people like to see the end results. Like, oh man, you made it. You this, that, and third. Like, yeah, but it was a bunch of reading. There was a bunch of things that went into really kind of really understanding what I'm doing, how I'm doing it, a bunch of messing up where I did take down certain things to understand what worked and what didn't work. There's a journey that goes with this. So now I'm getting asked questions like, yeah, no, I know exactly how this works because I've seen this here or done this here. Embrace the journey, including the sucky parts. I know it's not fun, but you have to still embrace the journey.
That's good. It's a good ending note. So we're almost at time. So I'm going to move into our lightning round questions.
Okay.
And these are just some fun questions to learn a little bit more about what you're interested in right now.
Okay.
So what's something you're listening to or reading right now?
Man, so I'm still in between books and anything like that, but I do like Dark Academy books. Last book I read was the Academy of Liars. I think that's what it is. So that's some of the last. I'm more of a listener. I'm not more of a reader, but I think it's the Academy of Liars, like Dark Academy. That's what I like.
Okay. What's one product or tool you're into right now?
Video games. I know it's a bad answer, but video games. No, that's probably it. Other than that, as far as tools, yeah, I don't think I have a good answer for that right now.
Okay. When is your next cohort?
Next week.
Nice. Where can listeners find you?
I'm honestly only on LinkedIn. I just have a big social media presence. I don't really have a Instagram, Twitter, things like that. But LinkedIn is probably the best place you can find me. Yeah, if you look at my name, I look just like my picture. There's not an old picture. This is the guy you're gonna find. Like, you'll be able to see who I am.
All right, and then last question: what made you smile this week?
Oh man, this interview. We're talking about this. Talking about pretty much the things that I've done and helping out people, like people who listen to it. And hopefully, you become one of the many students, because helping out one of the many students. Lightning round. Sorry.
That's great. Thank you. And then makes me feel good too. Now I can smile. Like the interview was great. Well, I really appreciate your time today, and I think that you're another great mentor for our potential future Flatiron School students to be aware of. And anybody who gets to have you as their mentor for cybersecurity, I think they're really lucky. So really appreciate your time, and I hope you have a great day.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it being here. Thank you so much.
See ya.